What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with Leverage Media, and today I want to talk to you about the 3 ways that you can generate new patients from a podcast. So podcasts are one of these things that are becoming more and more prevalent. More people have them. More content is being created. And the reason why they're so popular is because you can go a lot deeper with a podcast than you can with, say, like a video. I mean, blogs you can go pretty deep with, but most people just hate writing, so it's a lot easier just to talk or to interview somebody. But the reason why they're being consumed so much is because someone can passively consume the content. So a lot of you are listening to this right now on a podcast, and it's easy because you can be driving, you can be working out, you can be getting breakfast ready. You don't have to watch anything. You know, if you're watching this video right now, you have to, if you want like the full experience, you have to sit and watch the video. You know, most interviews there's no reason why you need to like watch them. Like I record mine only so that we have video content that we can use or we can clip up, and you know, videos just can be used in a different way than audio can be used. But the reason why podcast consumption has been exploding is just because people are so busy. They like to be able to multitask. And, you know, Gary Vee talks a lot about everything. The only thing that ever really matters is convenience. And so if a podcast is more convenient than reading a blog or watching a video, then more people are going to consume it. So the problem that I think a lot of people run into when it comes to podcasts is like, all right, well, I'm fine with doing it, but how am I going to turn that into new patients? How am I going to make the time worthwhile? How's it going to be a good investment, right? So the 3 ways that I think that you can really generate new patients from a podcast. Now, if you have a podcast where there's a couple different angles that I think people can take when it comes to a podcast. Either they can specialize in something, like whether it's pediatrics or PI or sports injuries or whatever the case may be, whatever your specialty is, if you want to make a podcast around that, so that the problem with a chiropractic podcast is it has to be local, because you're just probably not going to generate new patients from all over the country. So you need to focus on a local angle. So, you know, if you want to make sure that all the CrossFitters in town listen to this podcast, you just got to make it very specific to CrossFit. Now, if you want to make it more, especially if you're in a smaller town, if you want to make it more kind of general to almost becoming like the mayor of the town, you know, like interviewing the star quarterback or going and interviewing the guy who's had the bakery for 50 years and hearing his story, just kind of being like the ear of the city. I think that is super valuable as well. But regardless of which way you go, I think it works a little bit better when you're in the niche podcast. But either way, you'll get the opportunities when you're, and I'm assuming that you're going to do mainly interview, just because I don't think that that a lot of people want to listen to a chiropractor just talk about chiropractic on a podcast on like a daily or a weekly basis. So I think it'd be better to have experts come on, or like I said, local people. So the way that it's really worked well for me is when I do interviews with people, there's always those moments where you get to like share your 2 cents. You get to give your thoughts. You get to give your ideas. And whenever you do that, the people listening feel like they're discovering you versus you know, forcing this information down their throat. And if they're listening to somebody, if they're listening to an interview of somebody that they respect, and then you guys are having a great conversation, they seem like they respect you, you know, a lot of their authority will start to transfer over to you. The second way that people can find you and end up in your office off of a podcast, and this is a little bit of a 2-parter, is number 1, it can help set up referral relationships if you are doing like that specialty type podcast where maybe you're talking about, you know, pediatrics. You can do the interviews with people that you want to do business with. So who's the big pediatrician in town? Who's the doula that you've always wanted to partner with? Especially as a newer doctor, you know, it gives you a great opportunity to just like get your foot in the door, because most people, you know, especially local people, don't get asked to be on podcasts very often. So it can be kind of a big deal to them. And then you get to share with your audience their expertise. You get to kind of cross promote, but with their audience, which is another tip. But so not only can you start to set up those referral relationships, especially in the expertise range, they get to know you a little bit better, which is going to make them more likely to refer to you. And, when you're doing a podcast, if you do like a 30, 45 minute, 60-minute interview with somebody, it really gives you a chance to like get to know them a little bit. You start to develop a little bit of relationship. Maybe you go out to lunch afterwards. Maybe you go out to lunch next week. But it's a great foot in the door for people you're trying to refer back and forth with. And then the second part of that is it also gives your patients another way to share information with people that maybe they've been trying to refer into the office. So that's one of the biggest benefits that I see of creating content on a regular basis, is because we're all adept at social media now and how to share content, that it makes it a whole lot easier for people to share something with someone that they've been trying to get into the practice. If you give them a coupon and you expect them to like take it and remember to give it to them and keep it in their car and take it into work the next day, a lot of times it just doesn't happen. But if they're on social and they see you talking about, you interviewing, the local CrossFit, the new CrossFit coach that just came into town, one of your CrossFit patients that's been telling your other friend or their friend about you and why they should come in, maybe you said something really smart and they can share that with them. So it just gives it just one more piece of content that allows your people to kind of spread your message out to the ones that they're trying to influence into the practice. And then third is you get access to that guest's audience. So whenever you interview someone, you're always going to be able to tag them, thank them for their time. And then usually they thank you back or maybe tag you. And so when they do that, there's a chance that the people in their audience, or maybe they'll share it on their page. Let's say it's a yoga studio and they've got, 3,000 women that are on there and are highly active. If they get interviewed on a podcast and they share that on their page, and again, the people like the yoga instructors, so they're gonna want to listen. And then because you guys are having a great banter and you're having a good interview and a good conversation and you're adding value, now all of a sudden they're exposed to you. And so they get to see you as an expert. And that kind of goes back up to that first one where it gives you a chance to share your expertise. But it gets you into new pockets of people that you maybe wouldn't have otherwise. So a podcast is just such a different animal than any other type of content, because you're mainly interviewing people and you're getting access to them, you're getting access to their audience, to their expertise, and it's just such an easily consumed type of content for the people that follow you and that want to hear about what you have to say. So hopefully this was helpful. I think more and more chiropractors are going to be doing local podcasts, are going to be generating new patients from it. Everybody's been so focused on video for so long. I think blogs they're kind of the redheaded stepchild just because everyone hates writing. But podcasts are the easiest form of content that I know of, or at least that I create. It's so simple for me to either strip the audio from these videos or do an interview specifically for the podcast. And it's just, I'm telling you, if you're not doing one now, you absolutely should. I put it off for way too long, and I've been so happy that we started it. So, and that's why that's why we are now Chiropractic's only daily podcast, because it's been so much fun to do. So hopefully this helped with giving you guys some clarity on how to make the most of a podcast locally. If you have any questions, let me know, and we'll see you on the next one.